After the longest government shutdown in American history, something unexpected just happened in Washington. Democrats and Republicans actually agreed on something. The Senate just passed a funding deal with a 60-40 vote that reopens the government and puts federal workers back on the job. But if you think this is a feel-good bipartisan success story, you're missing what's really happening. This deal came with a price that's already tearing the Democratic Party apart from the inside, and the consequences could reshape American politics heading into the next election cycle. The government shutdown dragged on for weeks, affecting millions of Americans. Federal employees went without paychecks. Air travel faced disruptions. National parks closed. Food assistance programs for low-income families were in jeopardy. The public pressure to end the crisis became overwhelming. And finally, a bipartisan coalition in the Senate broke the deadlock. The funding agreement includes full-year appropriations for key government departments, a continuing resolution to finance other sectors until January 30th, and critically, full funding for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program through September 2026. It also reverses federal employee layoffs and provides retroactive pay to furloughed workers. So far, this sounds like responsible governance. Democrats and Republicans came together, avoided further disruption, and got the government functioning again. But here's where the politics get messy. The deal deliberately deferred one of the most contentious issues, extending Affordable Care Act healthcare subsidies. That decision was pushed to a future vote, and it's causing a massive rift within the Democratic Party. Progressive Democrats view this as a betrayal. They argue the party had leverage during the shutdown negotiations and should have used it to force Republicans to extend ACA subsidies as part of the deal. Instead, Democrats agreed to separate the healthcare fight from the funding bill, which progressives see as capitulation to Republican demands. They're calling it a missed opportunity to defend critical social programs when the political moment demanded it. This faction is furious, and their anger isn't going away quietly. Moderate Democrats counter that ending the shutdown had to be the priority. They argue that prolonging the crisis over ACA subsidies would have hurt millions of Americans who depend on government services daily, including federal workers living paycheck to paycheck and families relying on food assistance programs. They claim this deal represents pragmatic governance, not surrender, and that fighting the healthcare battle separately gives Democrats more flexibility to build public support. On the Republican side, the math tells its own story. Several Republican senators crossed party lines to reach the 60-vote threshold needed to break the filibuster and pass the funding deal. That signals something important. Even within the Republican caucus, there's recognition that prolonged government dysfunction carries political costs. Public anger over the shutdown was mounting, and Republicans calculated that tactical compromise on funding served their interests better than continued stalemate, even if broader partisan battles over health care and spending remain unresolved. The immediate impact is clear. Government operations resume. Federal workers get paid. Air travel normalizes. Food assistance programs continue. National parks reopen. But the political fallout is just beginning. The Democratic Party is now openly divided over strategy and priorities. Progressive anger over the ACA subsidy deferral will fuel primary challenges and intra-party conflict. And the promise of a future vote on healthcare subsidies remains exactly that, a promise, with no guarantee of when or if it materializes into actual policy. This bipartisan deal avoided immediate crisis by restoring essential government services, but it deferred critical decisions and exposed deep fractures within both parties. The government is open, but the political dysfunction that caused the shutdown hasn't been resolved. It's just been postponed. What's your take on this compromise? Should Democrats have fought harder on health care, or was ending the shutdown the right call? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for updates on how this political division plays out and what it means for future government funding battles.